Evening, ladies and gents. Um, Welcome to the show. So we're here to talk about the information risk management process and how to properly apply certain steps into a key scenario. The scenario I'm thinking about would be, let's say you have an EHR system, and the EHR system, there are different personnel that have access to the system. So now the problem that arises would be that the personnel that has access to the system sometimes they would leave their kiosk unattended. Now, the problem with that would be that family members and other unauthorized personnel they get to snoop around and see what's going on with the patient's files. So, how do you address that? The first thing you want to do is you want to identify the risks, and the way you identify the risk, obviously, the risk being that other people that don't have no business seeing what's going on with the files, they have access to it. That is the first way to identify the risk. So now, another way to identify the risk would be complaints. Other people can be complaining. Another way would be screening. When you screen, you check to make sure if everybody's abiding by the rules of HIPAA. If they're not, then there's the problem. That problem needs to be addressed. Now, the second thing would be the decision-making aspect of it. Now, when you find out there's a problem, what do you do? In the case of an EHR system, the one thing that you can do would be to make sure that password are issued for everybody. And once those passwords are issued, they cannot share those passwords with anybody else. And after that, you would make sure that there's a timer on on the screen so the screen can lock themselves up by themselves. So let's say someone for some reason they have to move away from the desk. Within a minute, the screen will just lock itself up. Now, when you apply those things, the first thing you have to understand the residual risk of that would be that, let's say someone has the password and they get locked out of the system and they cannot remember the password. That can be a risk, but the risk is a very good risk because whereas there may be a loss in productivity in terms of the way they are being productive within the company, but overall it'll still be a good thing because they people that don't have any business getting access to those files, they would be able they will not be able to get access to those files. I mean, so there may be a risk of of loss of productivity, but it wouldn't be a major problem because they can always call and they can always restore the password. It may take a little bit longer. It may reflect in their productivity for the day, but overall, it will still be a very good thing to consider because it will establish the goal of keeping people away from those files. So again, to recap, to go over the system, the first thing you want to do is to identify what the problem is. In this case, the problem is there's a chance that the personnel may step away from their desks, and when they step away from the desk, there's a chance that personnel and family members that don't have any business snooping around the patient files can actually get to see it. So the way you address this, the decision would be okay. Once you find that out through screening and complaints in different aspects, once you find that out, the implementation of it would be to put in place password protected screenings, and they can no one can share the passwords, so the problem can be contained. Um, the, that's how you apply. That's the decision you make in the application of it to issue passwords and issue policies on not being able to share the passwords among each other. And then the risks that may present itself with that implementation would be that there's a chance that they may lose their passwords, and that can translate into loss of productivity during the day. Let's say you have an MDS personnel, and MDS is very important to a nursing home because they do the billing and the coding. Now, if they cannot capture those billing on time, that will set them back for the day. But overall, people cannot, and if they lose a password, people they'll delay them into the timing of the things that they are supposed to do. But it will not be a major problem, as they can always regain the passwords through different means. But even though they may have a loss in productivity, it will still be good in the long run, in the sense that the problem ultimately will be resolved. And the problem would be that people that don't have any business snooping around in the files of the patients, the files would be protected. They will not have any access to it. So this is my take on the information management techniques and different things you can do to apply. This is how I think that I would implement it. These are the steps. This is how I would apply the steps into that specific scenario. Thank you.